We're continuing this week with a practical sermon series on the variety of ways that we can be good Samaritans with each other and in the world. I've been noticing something throughout these past 3 weeks and these preaching moments, and I wonder if you've noticed it too. Usually we mainline folks, preachers, like to preach biblically and theologically, but we hate to tell folks what or how to do things. It's just not in our nature. We love to leave plenty of room in our sermons for doubt and nuance, and we like to give plenty of permission to folks to do what you need and to take what you want away from the sermon and skip what you don't like. And we love to quote dead people, because often they have the greatest wisdom, let's face it, and they might even have died because they were once wise and courageous and before their time. Like Martin Luther King, who we quote a lot, and the Kennedys. But I've been trying in these past few weeks, I've been trying something new, and I feel refreshed by approaching the theme first, followed by the text, and then coaxing practical insights out of the text of life experience, my own and others, and I love telling stories. So I'm having a ball with this series, and I hope you're enjoying it as much as I am. And tell me, would you? Just let me know. Now today, we're looking at the subject of caring for the sick. Now I think there's two kinds of people in the world. I think this is how I would talk about them. Those who go to ground when they get sick, and those who, when they get sick, want plenty of attention and care. Which one are you? Just think for a moment. What do you do when you get sick? When I get sick, here's what I do. I love to lie on the couch in the living room, snuggled up in a blanket or even a down comforter, with lots and lots of pillows around me. And I love having my husband Sam in the kitchen, making me toast and heating up some gentle tea. Chamomile is my favorite when I'm sick. I love to nap or read until I fall asleep, and then I hope that he is there and ready to take care of me when I wake with more tea and toast. Being sick for me is a kind of a treat in an otherwise busy on-the-go life. Sam, on the other hand, is a go-to-ground kind of guy. He wants to be left alone, and he often slinks into another part of the house. He doesn't like to eat anything, especially anything I would make, and he would rather make his own tea because he knows just how he likes it. Two kinds of people in the world, those who go for care and those who tuck in. How we behave when we are sick has lots to do with the kind of people we are. But it also gives us clues about the world and what the world might be asking of us when it comes to sickness and disease. We have the luxury in our world to be taken care of in all sorts of ways when we are ill. We've heard a lot about health care this week and last week in the Democrat and Republican conventions, and we know that most of us have health care and insurance, and we get to use it. We get to act upon the insurance that we have. We get to go to doctors. We get to take all the tests that are required of us when we have an illness. We have amazing hospitals. There's plenty of medical equipment in our country. And the drugstores. There must be a drugstore in every corner, even in this city, filled with really great drugs that help you get through whatever it is that ails you. We are well taken care of and tended to in hundreds of ways in this country. I would say that we are the lucky ones when it comes to health care and being cared for. But much of the world goes to ground when it comes to illness and being sick. Insurance, healthcare, medical aid, and drugs, and even treatments are simply not options for many in our world. Going to ground, then, for many people is the only option rather than a choice. Listen again to some of the words in the text this morning, unless it went by you too fast. Beautiful words. And if you did not hear the astounding part of the text, let me say it for you one more time. Jesus called the disciples, called them by name, and gave them authority to drive out evil spirits and to heal every disease and illness. Now, there is an amazing vocational call to have authority to cast out evil spirits and to heal diseases. Sign me up. Sign me up. I wish that there were a class in seminary or a course I could take online where I could learn how to do that. Don't you, Jasper? According to Matthew, the disciples are given not ordinary power, but radical power and the authority to do the work of God in the world. The text says that they were to go out to lay claim to this message, that the kingdom of heaven was near. The kingdom of heaven is near, and it has transformation, healing, and wholeness in its wings. Now, I'm not sure who has done this to me, but I have a sneaking suspicion that it may be a member of our administrative staff, maybe Ken, maybe Louise, maybe Meredith, maybe Philip. But in my weekly calendar on my computer at work, so every Monday morning when I go in and turn my computer on, I have a to-do list that shows up at the side of my computer, and on that sidebar is a list that I read every Monday morning, and it goes like this: heal the sick, raise the dead, cleanse those who have leprosy, drive out demons, preach the word of God. Did you do this? Whoever put it there, I know meant it as a joke, I'm sure, but to me, it's become this wonderful every week ritual that I get to participate in. Every week, I open my computer, there it is, a reminder to me of my call, my vocation, and where I need to be putting my strength and focus every day of my life. So much of our lives, don't they, get eaten up by the tasks of living. We need a reminder. We need that reminder that we have been empowered by God in our lives to invite the kingdom of heaven to come near. Sometimes for me, it can be a small thing, praying for someone who is bearing and carrying a heavy load, or dropping a quick text. Text is great. Or an email to someone who's in anguish or pain. I wonder if the inventor of text ever realized it could be such a pastoral gift. It doesn't take much. It doesn't take much, and I save all of the messages. But by simply doing these things, we become a part of easing some of the suffering we know, we are sure, that is in our world. And it is part of inviting the kingdom to come a little bit nearer. Last week, I spoke to you about being able to see the world and to see those around you with soft eyes. The eyes of compassion. The eyes of Jesus. I believe that Jesus is one who saw the world with soft eyes. Jesus had an enormous power over and with sickness, because he saw so clearly, he could see it, suffering in the lives of people around him. And so the Gospels, the amazing Gospels, are full of stories where Jesus sees someone. He sees someone, and he's always full of compassion. Think of the stories. The man born blind, going in and with his mud and spittle, helping him to see. The woman who'd been bleeding from within for a long, long time, The bent-over woman, the woman who for 18 years couldn't see the world because she couldn't stand up straight. And the man with leprosy, who could not touch anyone because he was a leper and he was an untouchable. Now, leprosy in those days was not just about having a disease. Leprosy was about having the most isolating and terrible thing happen to you that could happen to you if you lived in community. Not only were you sick, but you were declared unclean. Stay away. You're an untouchable. So you needed more than just healing. You needed to be cleansed before you could enter back into the life of community. So a leper is coming to Jesus and asking to be touched and healed and cleansed. It's an amazing moment, because in that moment, he is violating the law. Why would a leper take such a risk? I think it is because he knew that Jesus had that heart for suffering, and he saw, perhaps even from a distance, that Jesus had those eyes for compassion. The man sensed it. He felt it. He trusted it. And he says, "If you are willing, Lord, you can make me clean." What the most remarkable thing to me in this story is that Jesus doesn't hesitate. Jesus heads straight over to this guy, and the first thing he does is what? He touches him. The first thing Jesus does is touches him, and then he says, "Be clean, be healed." What we learn from these healing stories is that Jesus never quite learned how to keep a distance, how to keep away from people in pain who were suffering. Sometimes we read that he's exhausted by it all, and we understand that. We understand that he needs to withdraw and rest for a while. But when it comes for caring for the sick, Jesus is hands-on. He's responsive, he's immediate, and he is present to whatever need is before him. So we know that when we hear these amazing words out of Jesus' mouth, they are not empty platitudes. Love your neighbor as yourself. It is more blessed when you give rather than when you receive. Whatever you have done to the least of these, you have done to me. In those early days of the church, maybe Jesus realized that caring matters most. Caring matters most. And caring deeply about those who needed help and care allowed the church a firm foundation, and it allowed the church to grow and expand its ministry on a daily basis. We know that there is disease in our world today. There are major diseases in our world today that prey upon the people of our globe. But they can be controlled if only we would put our soft eyes and our big hearts to the task. Did you know that this year, 1 out of every 13 people will contract malaria? That's about 216 million. And that one life can be saved with every $5 worth of mosquito netting. Tuberculosis. Did you know it's making a comeback? The World Health Organization estimates that 33% of the entire world population has been infected with TB. Probably not a lot of people in the U.S., but there will be some. And there will be about 100, maybe even 200 million more people who are affected by that disease this year. My attention, as you know, turns towards East Africa always, not only because I've been to Kenya this past